So just before we started, I was looking back to go over our history. Let me share this table of contents of what we've covered so far in this session and previous sessions. Okay, so last October, we started the 10th canto. And between October and December, we read about the introduction, demigods praying for the Lord, birth of Lord Krishna, the atrocities of King Kamsa, killing all the babies, sending demons to Vrindavan, the meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva in Mathura, and the killing of the demon Putana, the witch who came to Vrindavan. Then we took our trip to India. I'm trying to get my screen wide enough so I can see everything. Okay. Then when we came back from India, which was April, so April, May, and June, we did the Trinavarta demon. Then there was some really sweet sections with Mother Yasoda and Krishna, where Lord Krishna showed the universal form within his mouth. Mother Yasoda binded Krishna, the Damodar Leela, the deliverance of the Yamala Arjuna trees, so many different pastimes of Krishna, up to the time where he started to take care of the calves, the demon killing of the demon Aghasura, which, as you remember, wasn't discussed for an entire year. The question was raised why it wasn't discussed. And then we read this chapter that we're finishing today, The Stealing of the Boys and Calves by Brahma. So this brings us to the end of Srila Prabhupada's translations of the Srimad Bhagavatam in his translation and purport format. And will also bring us to the end of this season. We'll stop now. This is our last meeting. Our last posting was the final one that we'll go over today. And then what I'm going to do is create course materials that will have the Krishna book, which continues the 10th canto, as Srila Prabhupada did it in a prose format. I think everybody's pretty familiar with that. But also, as we've been sprinkling in Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur's commentaries from Sarartha Darshini, that's his book, with full commentaries. We'll have the verses and purports by Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur and Prabhupada's Krishna book. So when we start in October, this is a wonderful section. As we'll read at the end of this chapter, Lord Brahma, understanding his position, having been shown this divine revelation by Krishna about all the Vishnu forms and all the different living entities, different Brahmas from different universes, he understood his position as a subordinate, got down off his swan carrier, bowed down before Lord Krishna, and began to offer prayers. So those prayers of Lord Brahma are chapter 14. But right now, let's get back into the end of Lord Brahma stealing the boys and calves. We're in June 2024, lessons 7 and 8. Samapriya, please pick someone to read. Thank you all for your association during this time, too. It's been wonderful study. Unmute, Sama.
Hare Krishna. Welcome. This is a very wonderful and profound section of Srila Prabhupada's books because it is, it's the last thing he wrote. Hare Krishna. But he gave us so much. And in the last few readings, we have seen that he quotes so much from Vishwanath Chakrabarti, from the Acharyas, from the Bhagavatam. He shows us how to actually study the Bhagavatam. So even in the last purport, he quotes Vishwanath Chakrabarti, and we will continue from there with the Krishna book. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's begin with Manvantara. Would you like to read? What you want to put?
Okay, let me just, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13, Text 56. Then, by the power of the effulgence of those Vishnu Murtis, Lord Brahma, his 11 senses jolted by astonishment and stunned by transcendental bliss, became silent, just like a child's clay doll in the presence of the village deity.
Go on.
Report. Brahma was stunned because of transcendental bliss. In his astonishment, all his senses were stunned, and he was unable to say or do anything. Brahma had considered himself absolute, thinking himself the only powerful deity. But now his pride was subdued, and he again became merely one of the demigods. An important demigod, of course, but a demigod nonetheless. Brahma, therefore, cannot be compared to God, Krishna, or Narayana. We should not equate the demigods with Narayana, for even Sankaracharya has forbidden this. Narayana paro avyaktat. Also, as mentioned in the Vedas, in the beginning of creation, there was only the Supreme Personality, Narayana, and there was no existence of Brahma or Shiva. Therefore, one who, at the end of his life, remembers Narayana, attains the perfection of life. Ante Narayana Shmiti.
Very good. Okay, so there's two things I want to ask you about this, Mambataraji. The first thing is, what about pride being subdued? This is Lord Brahma, who is the complete, he is the head of our sampradaya. He's the spiritual master of the universe. What does that have to do with us, that his pride is subdued? How can we take that?
It's an example that's, the spiritual master leads by example also. And he's the, like you said, the grandsire, the spiritual master of our sampradaya. And pride is in all of us, right? Isn't it? And then he got an awakening, a realization of that pride. So he became humbled. And humility, we read before, is the first lesson in what is it?
It's the first quality that is attributed in knowledge. That is the first quality of knowledge. Humility.
Yes. So it was like right there. It was an epiphany for him, an awakening. So he was really, really. So that's transcendental bliss, right? That transcendental bliss is prema, right? Isn't it love? Isn't it prema?
You first you have to go through this before you get to prema. You have to become prideless. You have to become humble, and then keep serving, and it turns into prema.
Yes. Okay.
So and what about that last part of the purport? Ante Narayana Smriti. Always Lord Narayan.
Krishna. Yeah, if you're so fortunate to remember him before you leave the body. But there's so many descriptions that Srila Prabhupada has written in the past that time of death is so difficult to focus on anything. What to speak of Krishna is so distracting, that time period. So if we're so fortunate to remember Krishna at the time of death, then it will be a really nice situation.
It will be very nice. And what about for those who've been serving their whole lives and somehow or another they can't remember Krishna at the time of death? What happens to them?
Well, isn't there a certain momentum, a spiritual momentum that takes you forward? It says to remember Krishna at the time of death. But I mean, if your conditioning is always serving Krishna,
Good girl.
Isn't that a remembrance? I mean, it's not like
Well,
your
even
life
if
is
you don't,
dedicated.
if that's the case, even if you don't remember Krishna at the time of death and you've been serving the whole time, what happens?
Krishna
happens?
remembers you.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
Yeah.
And he's really good at that. So thank you. Those are two
Thank
very
you.
important points. Thank you so much, Mamatarji. Okay. So how about Tisha? Would you like to read, Tisha? This next verse and purport. I think this is a long purport.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:13-57. The Supreme Brahman is beyond mental speculation. He is self-manifest, existing in his own bliss, and he is beyond the material energy. He is known by the crest jewels of the Vedas, by refutation or of irrelevant knowledge. Refutation of irrelevant knowledge. Thus, in relation to that Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, whose glory had been shown by the manifestation of all the four-armed forms of Vishnu, Lord Brahma, the Lord of Saraswati, was mystified. What is this, he thought, and then he was not even able to see. Lord Krishna, understanding Brahma's position, then at once removed the curtain of his Yoga Maya. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahma was completely mystified. He could not understand what he was seeing, and then he was not even able to see. Lord Krishna, understanding Brahma's position, then removed that Yoga Maya covering. In this verse, Brahma is referred to as Iresha. Ira means Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Iresha is her husband, Lord Brahma. Brahma, therefore, is most intelligent, but even Brahma, the Lord of Saraswati, was bewildered about Krishna. Although he tried, he could not understand Lord Krishna.
Go on.
Purport continued. In the beginning, the boys, the calves, and Krishna himself had been covered by Yoga Maya, which later displayed the second set of calves and boys who were Krishna's expansions, and which then displayed so many four-armed forms. Now, seeing Brahma's bewilderment, Lord Krishna caused the disappearance of that Yoga Maya. One may think that the Maya taken away by Lord Krishna was Mahamaya, but Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur comments that it was Yoga Maya, the potency by which Krishna is sometimes manifest and sometimes not manifest. The potency which covers the actual reality and displays something unreal is Mahamaya. But the potency by which the absolute truth is sometimes manifest and sometimes not is Yogamaya. Therefore, in this verse, the word Aja refers to Yogamaya. Krishna's energy, his Maya Shakti or Svarupa Shakti, is one, but it is manifested in varieties. Parasya Shaktir Vividyeva Shruyate, from the Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.8. The difference between Vaishnavas and Mayavadis is that Mayavadis say that this Maya is one, whereas Vaishnavas recognize its varieties. There is unity in variety. For example, in one tree, there are varieties of leaves, fruits, and flowers. Varieties of energy are required for performing the varieties of activity within the creation. Thus, Yogamaya and Mahamaya are among the varied individual parts of the same one potency, and all of these individual potencies work in their own varied ways. The Samvit, Sadini, and Aladini potencies, Krishna's potency for existence, his potency for knowledge, and his potency for pleasure are distinct from Yogamaya. Each is an individual potency.
Okay. This is a very profound purport. It has a lot in it. Pati, you want to bring up the verse again? Okay. And I saw this was also something that caught my eye. And start reading from "He is known by the crest jewels of the Vedas." Read that sentence up in the, yeah.
He is known by the crest jewels of the Vedas by refutation of irrelevant knowledge.
Now this takes some thought to figure out what that means. Can you say what that means?
I sure can't.
Okay. Can anyone say what that means? Achari, you want to try this?
I'm not sure what to say about that either.
Okay. Because we had a long discussion this morning about what that could be. It's a real profound statement. Patti, why don't you say what that means? I can't hear you.
It's actually linked to the sentence before it. It's describing he who is beyond mental speculation, self-manifest, existing in his own bliss, and beyond this material energy. So to understand something that is beyond this material energy requires something not of this material energy. So the Vedas are scriptures which are imparted to the creation from the spiritual world. So he is known, that which is beyond this material world is known by the crest jewel of the Vedas, by the refutation of irrelevant knowledge. Irrelevant knowledge is practically everything that exists within this material world. So the
Okay.
Vedas reveal that which is beyond this world and consider everything that's in this world as it's practically irrelevant. It's temporary, it manifests and it doesn't manifest. Krishna explained this to Arjuna in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that you're mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. The soul never dies. So all your arguments, all your concepts are really not worthy of an intelligent person.
Right. Okay. There was one other thing here. Okay, so that's oh yeah. Prabhupada said I take the other day, I heard him say that the Vedas are spoken by Krishna. The Vedas are spoken by Krishna. So he is there to tell us without any irrelevancies, absolute knowledge. Malini?
Thank you. I was thinking of Srila Vyasadeva because he really felt that irrelevance. He really felt it so deeply that he was disappointed, despondent, because he could see that there was so much in the Veda that was irrelevant for the liberation or for us to know that amazing personality. And then, of course, we know Narada Muni came, and then he sorted out what's irrelevant to give us a Srimad Bhagavatam.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Sometimes we have to know some of that stuff. We have to know the duties of a human being for an ashram. Before we can give any of this up, we have to actually probably say, come to the human platform. We have to come to the human platform. So when you're on the other side, you can think about giving stuff up. When it becomes spontaneous, when 24 hours a day we're in intense love for Krishna, we don't have to worry about the rules and regulations. But where Vyasadeva was, that was where he was at. He was a little despondent because he was ready for the absolute, for prema. He was ready for prema. Just like Mamatara was mentioning, what is prema? Prema is what we come to through following all of this, and then spontaneous. You have spontaneous love for Krishna. Then it's revealed.
There's also some important parts in the later in this purport. We're not even finished with the purport
No,
yet.
I know,
And
I know, but
Acharya wrote a nice forum
sorry.
on this particular topic and wanted to discuss it. So now we can move a little bit into this and maybe open
Okay.
up some discussions here. Specifically this part here. This describes the difference between Mahamaya and Yogamaya.
Yeah.
This is, it's almost like engineers and physicists getting together, the acharyas knowing the Vedas intimately, knowing Krishna and how things work, describe his various energies. Here it's described that his energy is one. Krishna's energy, his Maya Shakti or Swarup Shakti is one. But it is manifested in varieties. This is a big essential point in understanding how these energies work, because the Mayavadis, there are philosophers who believe that because Brahman is one, that whenever there are varieties, that it's an illusion. But here it's described that the Shakti itself is manifested in varieties. Parashya Shaktir Vidaiva Shruyate means that the Supreme Lord is the wielder and controller of unlimited energies. Parasya Shaktir Vidaiva Shruyate. The difference between the Mayavadis and Vaishnavas is that Mayavadis say Maya is one, whereas Vaishnavas recognize its varieties. There is unity and variety. What is that? Vedanti tattva vidas, tattvan yajnanam advayam. Advayam means non-dual. And although it's non-dual, which means one, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Subjate, it manifests in three features and ultimately on unlimited features. I know that Acharya wanted to speak a little, wanted to discuss a little bit about the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya. So Acharya, why don't you speak a little on those topics?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering, it seems to me that this purport seems to be implying that Lord Brahma was under Krishna's Yogamaya, which in so many pastimes, the question comes up even in Bhagavad Gita. Is Arjuna actually an illusion, or is it just a pastime arranged by Krishna for the sake of, having a pastime or teaching us something? So at least here, there seems to be some indication that that's the case with Lord Brahma, that it's an arrangement of his Yogamaya, meaning his personal potency, not that Brahma is in material illusion, but that he's put into this situation by Krishna for the sake of the pastime.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting that you say that, because we went the other way.
What do you
We-
mean we went the other way?
Well, we were discussing how Brahma was actually, when he saw Krishna's Yoga Maya, and he became bewildered by seeing the Yoga Maya, by seeing Krishna's potency like that, he became bewildered. So Krishna took away that Yoga Maya and brought back the Mahamaya so that he could see himself in Vrindavan, and he could get back to, just like Arjuna said, please show me your two-armed form. And when he saw the universal form, he couldn't, it was way too much. So Krishna had to take that special vision away from him.
So are you saying that when Arjuna saw Krishna's two-armed form, that was Mahamaya?
No, of course not. I wasn't saying that. Oh, God. You know what I'm saying? We were talking about it before.
But it's not Mahamaya. Mahamaya.
No,
I
forget
think
about
that-
Arjuna
that-
and Krishna for a
there's
second.
There's a really good sentence here, which explains something very nice. Oh, I think it's coming up in the next one. No, here it is. It says here, the potency which covers the actual reality and displays something unreal, that's important, is Mahamaya.
Right.
But the potency at which the absolute truth is sometimes manifest and sometimes not is Yogamaya.
Okay, so
So
the
what we're
yoga,
seeing is that Brahma is being bewildered by two different types of Yogamaya,
he's being
because he's
bewildered
not
by
seeing,
Yoga Maya.
not seeing something that's unreal.
Wait a second. He was being bewildered by reality. He was being bewildered by Krishna's energy. And so he had to go back to Krishna's inferior energy, because, that's what we're dealing with in this world. No?
No, not at all.
Oh,
He's
my
being shown
goodness.
different features of Yogamaya.
Well, then
When-
get back
when
to
he-
the verse. Go to the purport again,
when
because
he-
it doesn't
when he-
say that,
When he's the verse of the purport,
the purport.
okay. The potency which covers actual reality
Okay, the actual
and
stop there.
displays
Wait.
something unreal.
Okay, wait a second.
What was unreal that he was seeing?
The actual reality was Krishna manifesting his Vishnu forms. That was actual reality.
Okay,
Let's just understand that.
that's
And
one,
this way
one
something
manifestation of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, okay.
And
so
what was
that
unreal?
was, okay, that was real.
right?
That was actual reality. But the
Okay.
potency by which the absolute truth is sometimes manifest and sometimes not. So that's Yoga Maya as far as what Krishna is going through. It seemed to me that that he couldn't handle seeing all the Vishnu forms. It was just overwhelming, and he was fainting. He couldn't function with that vision. And Krishna actually had to take that spiritual vision away from him. Of course, seeing Krishna, that's a spiritual vision anyway. He's talking to Krishna.
So that's what
How
I
did
just,
Mahamaya
that's what
get in here?
it didn't. You put it in.
I put it in. I seem to do that a lot. Oh, Krishna, help me. No, wait a second. I'm sure I knew what I was talking about before. All right. Okay. I have to accept defeat, but
No, it's not
I'm
defeat.
still-
It's just.
I'm going to still do some research because, okay, after this, we'll have to-
Actually, but through this understanding, we see throughout all of Krishna's pastimes, how is it that the demigods, whose 6 months is 1 day on earth, when Krishna's 7 years old, he's lifting Govardhan Hill. When he's 8 years old, he's dancing with the gopis. But how are they forgetting who and what he is?
Yoga Maya.
Thank you. Exactly.
Oh, wait a minute. Was it Mahamaya? Because actually, if you forget who Krishna is that Yoga Maya? No, that's Mahamaya.
No.
I'm familiar with Mahamaya.
The question can be answered. That's what's being answered in this topic. That the Lord's, again, Acharya brought up the point nicely also. Was Arjuna and Mahamaya on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or was that Krishna's potency of Yoga Maya so that he could speak Bhagavad Gita and that Leela could manifest? So was Lord Indra in illusion about who Krishna was why did he get so angry when his little offerings from a village on earth were taken and offered to the hill? Was that Mahamaya or was that Yoga Maya?
Well, was Krishna doing that to him? Seems like he was in big Maya.
He was in Maya.
Which one?
But Yoga Maya is definitely involved in that.
Yeah,
Because it
right.
happens over and over and over again. It's an
Okay,
eternal
okay. You're wearing me out, I accept defeat. This goes on all the time with us. That's what we do all day from morning to night, discuss all these things. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's go on. Please forgive me, everyone. With continue our reading. Malini, would you like to read? And then we'll have another intense discussion because this purport is so profound. Really, it is. This on the next slide. So,
Continued the purport. The Haladini potency of Radharani. As Swami Damodar Goswami has explained, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vrikriti Haladini Shakti Asmat, Chaitanya Charitamritam Adi 1.5. The Haladini Shakti is manifested as Radharani, but Krishna and Radharani are the same. Also, one is potent and the other is potency.
Let's go back in the purport, Malini, and read this part again.
Thus, Yoga Maya and Maya Maya are among the varied individual parts of the same one potency, and all of these individual potencies work in their own varied ways. The Samvit, Sandhini, and Aladini potencies, Krishna's potency for existence, his potency for knowledge, and his potency for pleasure, are distinct from Yoga Maya. Each is an individual potency, and Ladini Shakti is Krishna, Radharani.
Yes. So
Yes.
why was this included in that purport? Why emphasize this point?
I believe that's the point you made. There is that's so important for Mayavadis. Mayavadis want to put everything to oneness, It's like education, you know, like in the education system, they all want to bring to first grader. And like that, we have no problem of differences. So they all want to commit to the same platform, which is basically to say, I'm God. You know, at the bottom line is like, nothing is superior to me. But here there is this distinction of all those potency. You know, there is knowledge potency and there is a covering potency, the covering of knowledge potency, the Yoga Maya, the Mahamaya, and there is existence potency, and then there is the potency that's bliss, or like the pleasure potencies. And I want to say something about the conversation earlier, is that the purport before, I believe, also respond to our question, because he said that Yoga Maya display one set of boy and after display another set of boy. So in a sense, it's two manifestation, or two, it's not manifestation, it's like two doing of that energy of Yoga Maya that we have seen in different form, like with Krishna presenting himself in a foreign form, or Krishna presenting himself as a little boy to
Okay, well, wait a minute. The boys that were, oh yeah, it gets complicated. It's complicated.
The previous purport was sharing that you know, it was was manifesting two. There was two set of boys, and they were all truths.
Okay,
it's not like one is more true than the other. It's also absolute truth.
Well, one was directly Krishna, and what was the other one, Patti?
It's described as the like Chaya boys. Remember that example of Ravana taking Sita?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a material entity, born of the lotus flower, that was emphasized in the purports last week. Because he's a material entity, he cannot possibly wield a power over the spiritual potency. So when he tried to take Sita, when Ravana tried to take Sita, or when Brahma tried to take the boys, immediately Krishna's superior energy created an illusory set of boys that would satisfy his thinking that I've taken these boys, but they weren't the real boys.
I have a question about that. Were the boys manifested directly like expansions of Krishna, or were they?
Which set of boys?
Were any of the boys not Jiva but individual souls?
You're
Individual
talking
souls.
about the boys prior to being taken by Brahma.
Yeah, the ones who Krishna.
It's a Maya Sita. It's like
those are his Nitya Siddha associates.
Yeah, so they cannot be affected by any Mahamaya potency.
And Acharya, didn't you read in one of your commentaries? I remember you saying a couple of weeks ago that you read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said in someplace that in an unmanifest dimension, nothing changed. The boys continued to play with Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one interpretation by one of the Acharya's commentaries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Different Acharyas.
Baladev Vidyabhushan, I think you said it was. I think the one you said, Acharya Prabhu Baladev Vidyabhushan was giving that explanation. That's what I remember from last
Yeah,
week.
I actually don't remember who it was, but different Acharyas, like one said the pastimes continued uninterrupted but not visible. Others said that the boys were put into like a sleeping state because if they were aware, they couldn't bear the separation of Krishna. So even in that, different Acharyas have different opinions and different descriptions, different understandings. I don't know. So I don't know what the
one of the wonders of this whole pastime is that it even bewildered Brahma.
Yeah.
Four heads, creator of the universe, head of the Sampradaya, instructed directly by Garbhodakshaya Vishnu at the beginning of the creation. So the point is that Krishna's energies are inconceivable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no shame in being bewildered.
One point want to bring up here again. Just it's almost like terminology, but it's important to understand. Where it says here, The Samvit, Sandhini, and Hladini potencies, Krishna's potencies for existence, which is Samvit. No, his knowledge is Samvit. Sandhini is
Sandhini.
existence, and Hladini is potency for pleasure, are distinct from Yogamaya. Why would he say this? They are Yogamaya. Why is he saying they are distinct from Yogamaya? Because each is an individual potency. In other words, we're back to this variety in unity. They're all one. But there are varieties in the oneness. Just like when you're in a room, if you're in the temple room, it's one room. Everybody, it can be said, this is one. Everybody is one. But at the same time, every single person is an individual. So it's simultaneously one and different.
Oh,
Which is Lord Chaitanya's Achintya
Yeah.
Veda Tattva. And that's why he put in this part to emphasize, because we're Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the worship of Srimati Radharani as the pleasure potency of the Lord. Of course, she's Yogamaya, but Yogamaya manifests as a different personality in the pastimes.
what do you mean, of course, she's Yogamaya?
She's a manifestation of the internal potency of the Lord.
Yeah.
Right.
So why would you
So-
say that's Yogamaya, which is completely distinct from everything else? Yeah, it said right
Because-
before in the purport that they are not the same, they are this individual,
They're distinct.
distinct from
Right.
Yogamaya. They're distinct from Yogamaya.
Again, we're back to the terminology, are we not? That's what we're talking.
see.
Yogamaya is that which is Krishna's internal potency. Mahamaya is his external potency.
Oh, well, this is semantics. This is
Yes,
semantics.
exactly
But it
what
is
we-
individual. The
Yes,
Ladini,
that's
the
what's being
the
brought up here.
Sandhini, yeah. Oh, these
Okay,
are-
let's
And
continue
they
with the
also,
purport.
like, the rest of the purport also present that they have personality.
Yes,
Like
let's continue with that.
Ladini is Radharani, and I believe that Yogamaya is Purnamasi or someone like that. You know, that
Purnamasi.
they are one, but they have also variety as energy, and they have variety as personality.
Yeah, different people.
Yeah, let's continue
Different
with the
people,
purport.
yeah. And
Tom.
if we want to be really personal,
Okay.
then we go to the people directly.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Let's go on reading. Is this the next part of the purport that we're going to
Yes.
read?
Yeah.
Madhurya Leela, are you able? She said she wasn't able to read, but let's see, she's on, so maybe.
Oh, she's not able.
Madhurya ji? I think she's just hearing today. Okay. Kate, you want to read this?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Mm.
Okay. Purport continued. Brahma was mystified about Krishna's opulence because the opulence was atarkya, or inconceivable. With one's limited senses, one cannot argue about that which is inconceivable. Therefore, the inconceivable is called achintya. That which is beyond chintya are thoughts and arguments. Achintya refers to that which we cannot contemplate but have to accept. Srila Jiva Goswami said that unless we accept achintya in the Supreme, we cannot accommodate the conception of God. This must be understood. Therefore, we say that the words of Shastra should be taken as they are, without change, since they are beyond our arguments. This path of acceptance is called Avaroha Pantha. The word Avaroha is related to the word Avatara, which means that which descends. The materialist wants to understand everything by Aroha Pantha, by argument and reason. But transcendental matters cannot be understood in this way. Rather, one must follow the Avaroha Pantha, the process of descending knowledge. Therefore, one must accept the Parampara system, and the best Parampara is that which extends from Krishna. What Krishna says, we should accept. This is called Avaroha Pantha. Brahma, however, adopted Aroha Pantha. He wanted to understand Krishna's mystic power by his own limited conceivable power, and therefore he himself was mystified. Everyone wants to take pleasure in his own thinking. I know something, but in the presence of Krishna, this conception cannot stand, for one cannot bring Krishna within the limitations of Prakriti. One must submit. There is no alternative. This submission marks the difference between Krishnaites and Mayavadis.
Krishnaites.
Krishnaites.
Prabhupada calling us Krishnaites.
Okay. Oh.
Krishnaites and Mayavadis. So wait, could you go back to that for 1 second? Because I have to show everyone this one line, and that's why there was frustration in our last conversation. With one's limited senses, one cannot argue about that which is inconceivable. And it's even hard to have intelligent discussions about what is inconceivable. And I believe that that's what I fell victim to. It's inconceivable, but that saves the day. That word, achintya, inconceivable.
I'd like to hear what Kate thinks about this purport.
Okay, Kate, can you say something?
Well, yeah, I think everyone, it looked like I saw the corner of my eye, everyone was kind of smiling when I was reading this, because it really does, hearing the discussion, it just speaks to the fact, and then reading this purport speaks to the fact that Krishna is not meant to be understood. I mean, well, in certain way, I mean, he's inconceivable. Yeah, exactly. If he was meant to be understood so easily, then he wouldn't be God, I think.
Yeah.
Let's go back to here for a second. This purport was about inconceivable. And then this purport was about the difference between Avaroha Pantha and Aroha Pantha. And this was about how Brahma attempted the Aroha Pantha. So speak a little bit about that progression, something that's inconceivable, the Avaroha Pantha and the Aroha Pantha, trying to understand that which is inconceivable.
But do you know the difference, Kate? You know the difference between Avaroha and Aroha?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the Aroha is argument by reason. So this is us always trying to reason that we know something. And then the Avaroha is related to that which descends. So we need to understand by Shastra, by disciplic succession, by mercy of the spiritual master, by these conversations that we have now, that we're having now.
Good. So that even in music, there's Avaroha and Aroha. There's the up going up and there's the going down. And our disciplic succession, we get knowledge through this disciplic succession, and that's Avaroha, from the descending process. That's how we get knowledge. And Brahma was trying to understand it through his realizations, and that's when we get into trouble with the ascending process.
Let's talk a little bit about modern education and the process they use. What does modern man use in order to find out that which is unknown? Which process do they generally adopt?
It's something like if it's true for this, it's going to be true for that. So they use something they already know and try to apply it. I can't remember what, there's like one word that describes what they surmise or something like that.
Hypothetical.
Like, for example, if you look at human history, there was a time when, according to your senses, if you're standing in Europe and looking out at the ocean from Portugal or France or Spain, you're going to see that it's flat. It looked flat. And the concept of the globe, it wasn't the globe, it was a flat. And they thought that if you kept going, you'd fall off. So in order to experiment and try to find out, they ventured further and further in their boats. And Columbus and Magellan and all of them gradually came to the point where now they think that it's a globe. Then if you want to go to other planets, you have Elon Musk, the most wealthiest person on this little Earth planet, and he's trying to shoot a little machine up to Mars. But what about beyond Mars? What about all the millions and billions of planets up there? There's a large, probably the vast majority of people on Earth think that there's no life on other planets. So that's the conclusion they've come to. By what process?
I think Manvantar Would you like to say your realization, Mandatar? She sent a little message. That was an interesting, what do you think about this?
Mhm.
I think the process is called deductive reasoning. The
Oh, the one that Tisha was talking about.
yeah.
Good.
Okay, so that's when we conclude things from our own, just the way Brahma was doing it, from his own experiences, his own limited way of viewing everything, rather than hearing from authority. Right? So that's what we're doing, the opposite here. And Prabhupada talks about the scientists, right? Talks about the scientists in a very frustrated way, because they see the whole human race is taking knowledge from scientists who are deductive reasoning. They conclude this, so everything else, and then a few years later, well, we were wrong. I'll start again. You know, you have to hear from authority, and only the Vedas are the authority. You know, it's very, very precarious. Okay, anyone else have something to say before we move on? Okay, let's move on. Ian, would you like to read?
Okay, Krishna, everybody. All right. So, purport continued. So, Brahman is sometimes described as that which is not large and not small, not short and not long. We had Upanishad 5.8. Neti. It is not this, it's not that. But what is it? In describing a pencil, one may say it's not this, it's not that. But this does not tell us what it is. This is called definition by negation. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also explains the soul by giving negative definitions. Just a minute. Sorry about that. So where was I now? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So na jayati mriyate va. It is not born, nor does it die. You can hardly understand more than this. But what is it? Is it? It is eternal. Ajo nityaha shashvato yam purano na anyate anyamane sarire. It is unborn, eternal, ever existing, ordained, and primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. Bhagavad Gita 2.20. In the beginning, the soul is difficult to understand, and therefore Krishna has given negative definitions. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can it be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind, rather. Bhagavad Gita 2.23. Krishna says, it is not burned by fire. And therefore, one has to imagine what it is that is not burned by fire. This is a negative definition. Wow.
Okay. Anything you want to say about this, Ian?
Yes. So we see, I just said this thing about definition by negation, what something is not. So we're saying that rather than say the soul is so and so, we say soul is not this, not that. Yes. So you want to know what is so I think you get a little bit of what it is by saying what is not. Maybe a little bit I would say maybe technical, saying it is not this, it's not that. Yeah. Rather than saying it is this, it is that. So what he's saying, and I just learn this one, definition by negation.
Right.
When saying it is not this, it is not that, rather than saying it is this. So I suppose if you say it is not this, then you might say, then what is it? Yeah. So
well, it's not that.
Yeah, it is not. This is not that.
Right.
Yeah. So As I say, when it tells you if sapiens is not, this is not, it doesn't really tell you what it is. But negation saying it is not this. So you understand, it is not this. So what is it? Well, we know it is, the soul is immortal, so it cannot be. So
the last line, therefore one has to imagine, what is it that is not burned by fire? So,
Yeah.
so either we can think about that, and we
Yeah.
can come to a conclusion, which is aroha, concluding on your own basis of knowledge, or you can hear from authorities what it is, and that is the avaroha method of attaining knowledge.
Yeah, so if one is intelligent, if one is using intelligence, then one will say, since it's not this, so
Right.
let me see from higher authorities what it is then. Because since we are saying it's not this,
Good.
so I'm going to find out what it really is.
Good.
Yes, so
And
from higher authorities, it is scriptures.
I just want to ask you personally, you're a teacher, right, Ian? I've heard that you were a teacher somehow or another.
Yes, I retired after nearly 20 years.
Oh, so there you go. You
At
know
high
how to,
school.
you know how to explain these things. Thank you. Okay, Acharya.
Yeah, thank you. This point,
No,
I think
Acharya,
this is,
this is the one we read before. I just want you to read the last sentence and then we'll go on to the next one, because that was a lengthy purport. This will bring our storyline into focus here. So
Is
just
Acharya
this
going to
last part.
speak? Can he speak?
Oh, I thought he
he
was
had a
going to
question.
Oh,
And
sorry
he's
about
going to
that.
read next too.
Okay.
both, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that this point Prabhupada is making about negative theology, negative definition, is a really important point in understanding the history of world religions in general, because in almost every world religion, this over-dependence on negative definition, this called via negativa, in the absence of positive knowledge of God, in almost every case leads to an impersonal conception of God.
Ooh, good.
Can you give an example how that worked?
Yeah, in Judaism is what I'm most familiar with, especially in the medieval period. One famous philosopher, Moses Maimonides, made a big point of this, that God is non-material, and like that he doesn't have this material quality, he doesn't have that material quality, he doesn't have the other material thing. He can't be compared or analogized by anything material, but without any positive knowledge, then it just becomes a void.
Therefore, he must not have form.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And the Mayavadis do this, and in Christianity they do it, but they sort of get around it by the appearance of Jesus, and Islam does it, and most of the Eastern religions by this. Like Prabhupada says, via negativa, the negative definition is true, but it doesn't give the positive definition. So in the absence of that positive definition, almost invariably, historically speaking, the result is impersonalism.
Right, it would be a natural conclusion.
Yeah.
But Krishna uses it in the Bhagavad Gita, but then follows it with the positive.
With the positive, yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like also just a week ago, I had this. I was giving class on Zoom in Philly, and I got that verse from the second canto, Muktir Hitvanyata Rupam Swarupena Vyavastati. Usually, even in devotees and in the Vedas, liberation is described as by a negative definition, that you're no longer contaminated, you're no longer within the material world, you're no longer bound in a material body. But that verse is so striking because it gives a positive definition of liberation, that it's the negative side, that it's giving up the conditioned material form, and Swarupena Vyavasti, that it's accepting the eternal spiritual form. So that's one example where the negative and the positive have to be combined for a proper understanding of what liberation is, or for what Krishna is.
Beautiful, Acharya. Thank you. And because love is the foundation, we're hankering for loving relations. How can you have a loving relationship with something that is all negative? That does it to the point of non-existence. Thank you, Acharya. Okay, we can go on now, and you can read, Acharyaji.
Again, just start, here. Just the verse.
Should I
just
start
verse.
or
Just the verse here,
10:13:57?
just that part.
The Supreme Brahman is beyond mental speculation. He is self-manifest, existing in his own bliss, and he is beyond the material energy. He is known by the crest jewels of the Vedas by refutation of irrelevant knowledge. Thus, in relation to the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, whose glory has been shown by the manifestation of all the four-armed forms of Vishnu, Lord Brahma, the Lord of Saraswati, was mystified. What is this, he thought, and then he was not even able to see. Lord Krishna, understanding Brahma's position, then at once removed the curtain of his Yoga Maya.
Okay, that was the previous verse. This
Yeah.
is the next verse.
Okay, text 58. Lord Brahma's external consciousness then revived, and he stood up just like a dead man coming back to life. Opening his eyes with great difficulty, he saw the universe along with himself.
This is the place in Vrindavan where this pastime took place. It's called Brahma Kund. And this is a little lotus flower with Lord Brahma on top and a kund around it. And now the next verse.
Who remembers when that place was just a dirty little hole?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's beautiful. I haven't seen it in so long.
Why don't you go on reading the next and the purport too?
Text
Acharyaji.
59 through 60. Then, looking in all directions, Lord Brahma immediately saw Vrindavan before him, filled with trees, which were the means of livelihood for the inhabitants, and which were equally pleasing in all seasons. Vrindavan is the transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger, or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. Should I continue?
Yes, please.
Purport. Krishnot Kirtanagan and Artana Paro. Whether a Goswami or a tiger or other ferocious animal, everyone's business is the same, to please Krishna. Even the tigers are also devotees. This is the specific qualification of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everyone is happy. The calf is happy. The cat is happy. The dog is happy. The man is happy. Everyone wants to serve Krishna in a different capacity, and thus there is no envy. One may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious because they cause mischief and steal food. But in Vrindavan, we find that the monkeys are allowed to take butter, which Krishna himself distributes. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has the right to live. This is Vrindavan life. Why should I live and you die? No, that is material life. The inhabitants of Vrindavan think, whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasad and eat. This mentality cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness. By sadhana, one can come to this platform. In an article about the Temple of the Hare Krishna movement in Durban, South Africa, the Durban Post reported, quote, all the devotees here are very active in the service of Lord Krishna, and the results are obvious to see. Happiness, good health, peace of mind, and the development of all good qualities. This is the nature of Vrindavan, unquote. This is the nature of Vrindavan. Harava bhaktasya kato mahat guna. Without Krishna consciousness, happiness is impossible. One may struggle, but one cannot have happiness. We are therefore trying to give human society the opportunity for a life of happiness, good health, peace of mind, and all good qualities through God consciousness.
Okay, thank you. Could you comment on all of that?
That's a very intense purport.
It's yeah.
Prabhupada's vision that all material problems are solved by Krishna consciousness, that material problems can't be solved by material solutions, but only by Krishna consciousness.
Because they keep happening over and over again.
Yeah. One example Prabhupada gave once, he said, like when a man is possessed by a ghost, that in India, there's a exorcism process, and part of the exorcism is throwing of mustard seeds on the body of the possessed person. But Prabhupada said, but what if the ghost has entered into the mustard seeds? Then by throwing the mustard seeds on the man, you're just making the situation worse. So he compared that to trying to solve problems by material means, that the material means are themselves the cause of the problem.
Yeah.
So there's no solution through that, only through Krishna consciousness.
We become very dependent on the material solutions. Just if someone is sick and they have a dreadful disease and they go to the hospital and they keep going back and forth, and it takes years and years, but they're still going to the hospital and they're still having faith in the doctors and faith in the scientists. And, our whole foundation for faith is a little bit compromised in the material world. A little, I would say a lot.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful vision, at least, that Prabhupada is presenting.
Yeah.
There's that famous painting, Peaceable Kingdom. Everyone's seen that. The painting of the vision of heaven, that the lamb and the lion and all the animals are lying down peacefully together. But Krishna consciousness is actually the practical embodiment of that.
Yeah, we were talking about this, about the monkeys now, and that they're not envious in Goloka Vrindavan. But if you've had encounters with monkeys and animals in Vrindavan, you might question, where am I? Is this Vrindavan? But actually the Dham has a covering. And that's the only conclusion, that the holy Dham, when you see filth, when you see beggars, and when you see poverty, and you see all these things that are basically not really spiritual, you wonder, is this Vrindavan? This is just the covering of the Dham. The self-realized soul sees everything, sees beyond that covering. That's the vision and that's the place where the monkeys are not envious.
I find it interesting that and this purport that Prabhupada wrote, talking about the good qualities that arise from a life of Krishna consciousness, talking about the happiness. And then he says here, we are therefore trying to give human society the opportunity for a life of happiness, good health, peace of mind, and all good qualities. Remember, these words are being spoken days before he's about to leave his body. So it's almost like a synopsis of what his message was to the world. If you want to be happy, if you want to have good health, if you want to have peace of mind and develop good qualities, this process works.
And while he's in that state, when an ordinary person suffering like that, your consciousness gets so all you could perceive is your suffering, but Prabhupada is still thinking of the welfare of everyone else while going through that.
We are very fortunate souls to have had to be able to speak Prabhupada's words. We are all fortunate. This is here for the world, and somehow we've been blessed to take advantage of it. Thank you, Acharya. Let's continue on with Faye, and maybe Neil will also join us for reading. Faye, you want to continue?
Hare Krishna Mataji, of course. Of course I would like to continue.
Okay.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:13.61. Then Lord Brahma saw the absolute truth.
Hello? Okay.
Okay. Brian, sorry.
Are you okay? You want Neil to continue reading?
She just got a little overwhelmed by the moment.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
This is wanted.
The
We're just
moment
gonna invite us-
overwhelmed me.
Good.
Who is one without a second, who possesses full knowledge, and who is unlimited, assuming the role of a child in the family of cowherd men, and standing all alone, just as before, with a morsel of food in his hand, searching everywhere for the calves and his cowherd friends. Report by Srila Prabhupada. Now Brahma saw Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, not demonstrating his opulence, but standing just like an innocent boy with some food in his hand, loitering with his cowherd friends, boyfriends, calves, and cows. Brahma did not see Krishna as Chaturbhuja, the opulent Narayan. Rather, he simply saw an innocent boy. Nonetheless, he could understand that although Krishna was not demonstrating his power, he was the same supreme person. People generally do not appreciate someone unless he shows something wonderful. But here, although Krishna did not manifest anything wonderful, Brahma could understand that the same wonderful person was present like an ordinary child, although he was the master of the whole creation. Thus, Brahma prayed, Govinda, Adi Purusham, Tam Aham, Bhajami. You are the original person, the cause of everything. I bow down to you. This was his realization. Tam Aham Bhajami. This is what is wanted. Krishna was playing like a dramatic actor because Brahma had some false prestige, thinking he had some power. Krishna showed him his real position.
Okay. Do you think Krishna ever did that with you?
I get whopped on the head a lot, Mataji.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, that's kind of far out. Depends who's walking. Krishna can walk on my head. Can you imagine? Here's the footprint.
Yeah.
How wonderful. So what else you got to say about this, Faye?
Going back to earlier verses and discussions.
But you want to put it back so in case she needs to refer to it?
No, ma'am, that's all right. Thank you, Mataji. In essence, that variegatedness is there. And Maha Maya and Yoga Maha Maya are dancing at the same time, always. Srimati Radharani is very dear to me. She's dancing at the same time. All of these wonderful things are going on simultaneously in the most perfect way. And Krishna reminds me sometimes of the power behind the opening and closing of theatrical curtains. As a little girl, if I saw the Wizard of Oz movie, the wizard was behind the curtain, and you got to see that he was actually acting as Oz, the great Oz. Well, with Lord Brahma in this particular pastime, the curtain of Krishna was going up and down theatrically at the right moments to teach Lord Brahma everything he ever needed to see,
What a sweet
to know,
comparison.
or understand.
Good girl.
So that's what I kind of see with this. It's beautiful when you go with Lord Chaitanya in the wonderful picture that Dhruva Maharaj selected. You can see Radharani and Krishna in the back, and you know that they become a beautiful unified energy in Lord Chaitanya. Isn't that another kind of curtain? Those things are always there. They're always going on.
Good girl.
And I have such a misinformed, defective illusion. The 4 defects of my little tiny myopic vision, I don't feel so bad knowing that Brahma was particularly confused And he's a lot more important than big than I am. If even Brahma could be confused by this pastime, what to speak of us? And what a wonderful time to discuss Krishna Katha together, to see all these pieces and nuances
Right.
that curtain.
Very good.
Thank
You
you
hit
very
on, you hit,
much.
well, you hit on a very important point that if in a lot of our readings with Lord Indra, with Lord Brahma, we're seeing how they are even victimized by either the material or spiritual energy of Krishna. So it actually, we have to work a little hard to become freed from the illusion of the material world. We have to take that upon ourselves. That's our work for this lifetime, to become devotees of Krishna, because we can depend on him. We can depend on him. He is the most dependable. Thank you, Faye. Let's go on to the next verse. And I have to ask Neil if he would like to read. Would you?
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
After seeing this, Lord Brahma hastily got down from his swan carrier, fell down like a golden rod, and touched the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. When the tips of his 4 crowns from his head, offering his
obeisances,
he bathed the feet of Krishna with the water of tears of joy. Purport. Lord Brahma saw that Krishna, in his form as a cowherd boy, was
Hara Brahman,
the root cause of everything, but was now appearing as a human child, laundering in Vrindavan with a morsel of food in his hand. Astonished, Lord Brahma hesitantly got down from his swan carrier and let his body fall to the earth. Usually the demigods never touch the ground, but Lord Brahma thank you. But Lord Brahma, voluntarily giving up his prestige as a demigod, bowed down on the ground before Krishna. Although Brahma has one head in each direction, he voluntarily brought all his heads to the ground and touched Krishna's feet with the tips of his 4 helmets. It is mentioned that Brahma washed the feet of Krishna with his tears, and here the word
Sujalai
indicates that his tears were purified. As soon as bhakti is present, everything is purified. Therefore, Brahma's crying was a form of transcendental ecstatic love.
Okay, thank you. That's the conclusion of Brahma's reaction to Krishna. Does anyone have something to say about this? No? Neil? Pati, unmute, please.
For Neil's and everyone else's clarity, the definition of God, according to the Vedas, is that from which everything emanates. There's a source. There's a source of all energy. Like throughout the universe, the source of the light in the universe is the sun. But it manifests as electricity, and then there's a little bulb, but that energy is just transformed from sunlight. Ultimately, the energy is sunlight. So what we've read about in this pastime is that this little boy who's playing as a simple cowherd boy in Vrindavan with his friends has now revealed to the creator of one universe how he, from his one little body, is Govindam Adipurusham, the supreme original person, and that everything, everywhere emanates from him. He actually showed it to Brahma. And now he's manifested himself again back there as a little boy, and that's what Faye was reading.
Ah, Krishna, Krishna. Let's, Patty, I'm going to ask you if you could please read the last verse. Oh, but first, Ian has something to say. Ian?
Okay, so for our purification, we see, the whole story have been, so many parts have been woven into the story. So, different parts of Brahma was mystified and he become not mystified. And then eventually now he saw, Krishna as the, ordinary colored boy. And this lesson teaches us that when we have a little power, we should be humble with it, whatever assets we have, or the authority we have, we should show some humility and pridelessness, in a sense, a lesson for us to learn. And also, it is said, God is always God, which I think is in the Krishna book. We are now saying in one of the Leelas, when say whether Krishna is playing the part of a little baby, whatever manifestation Krishna is shown in, God is always God. So that's my take.
Good. Always remain humble and tolerant. We have nothing to be proud of, really. What do we got to be proud of? We have nothing to be proud of. And Krishna is always God. Prabhupada's always saying that in everything we read, reminding us there is a difference between Krishna and us. A very big difference. Thank you, Ian. Let's go on with the last verse that Prabhupada ever translated on this planet.
This is Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 13, verses 63 and 64. Rising and falling again and again at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna for a long time, Lord Brahma remembered over and over the Lord's greatness he had just seen. Then, rising very gradually and wiping his two eyes, Lord Brahma looked up at Mukunda. Lord Brahma, his head bent low, his mind concentrated, and his body trembling, very humbly began, with faltering words, to offer praises to Lord Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahma, being very joyful, began to shed tears, and he washed the lotus feet of Krishna with his tears. Repeatedly, he fell and rose as he recalled the wonderful activities of the Lord. After repeating obeisances for a long time, Brahma stood up and smeared his hands over his eyes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the word lochane indicates that with his two hands, he wiped the two eyes on each of his four faces. Seeing the Lord before him, Brahma began to offer prayers with great humility, respect, and attention. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th canto, 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Stealing of the Boys and Calves by Brahma.
Hare Krishna. So, Acharya?
I really like these repeated obeisances. Sometimes you see this in Mahaprabhu's pastimes also, where devotees will offer obeisances, and I can't understand it, but I'm trying to imagine a feeling of humility and submission so intense that you bow down and you think, that's not enough, I have to do it again. And I know that's not enough, I have to do it again. So that feeling of humility, I don't experience that. When I offer obeisances, it's just so mechanical. But imagine feeling it so deeply that no, offering obeisances once is not enough. I have to do it over and over again.
Reminding me of those people that do it while they're circumambulating Govardhan.
Yeah. Yeah, I always found that very amazing, that repeated idea of like repeatedly offering obeisances.
It's also very telling and symbolic that this is where Srila Prabhupada ended with such humility. He showed in his life how he would often not take any praise for himself. He would say, I was simply carrying out the orders of my spiritual master. So it's fitting that such a mood was his last purport.
Wow. And also, I think that Acharya, if you saw Srila Prabhupada just now, you would do a Lord Brahma. You would definitely do a Lord Brahma. We would all do a Lord Brahma. So
I would
I don't-
hope so. I can't even imagine.
I-
I've always lamented, I was old enough that when I was, and living in New York, that when I was a teenager, I could have gone to Manhattan and seen Prabhupada if I had known, if I'd been inclined, but I didn't. I missed it. And,
Mm.
maybe in some
Well, you're still
future-
his disciple.
Yes,
And
look
now
what
you
you, look
have
what
that-
you can.
I'm definitely his follower, and maybe at some future existence, I'll actually get to offer my repeated obeisances to him.
Anyone else have something to say as we end this season?
Manvantara has a raised hand.
Oh, Manvantarji, yes.
I just wanted to make a correction. The deductive reasoning versus the inductive reasoning. The deductive reasoning, I was wrong. It is the process from top to lower to bottom.
Oh,
Inductive reasoning is the Mayavadis.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, good.
Right.
That's good. Thank
Makes
you.
sense.
Sorry about
Thank you all, Prabhus. It's been wonderful nectar to dive into of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're looking forward to more in October. I hope you'll all join us. Remain safe and Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna.
Very
Thank
good. Thank you.
Okay. So before you go, Prabhus, just like to show express my appreciation on behalf of the group. I know the group didn't ask me, but I'm taking the liberty. Usually this topmost sangha, is priceless. So just like to have my, appreciation on behalf of the group.
Thank you, Ian.
And to say,
Yeah.
yes, we're going to miss the sangha, but this is all very welcome. So thanks much again for the sangha, for the presenters and the participants.
Yeah, and we'll see you in October. We will.
Bye. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
keep
Happy
safe.
Janmashtami.
And have
Happy
a wonderful
Radhastami.
sadhana.
Balaram Jayanti. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Yeah.